Hey y'all, welcome to Music for the Average Joe. Let's talk about layering. This is going to be a great opportunity to work on things from past lessons, such as chord tones, music theory, space and frequency, and voicing. Now, I've used a lot of hip-hop style beats as examples in the past. Today we are actually going to create more of an ambient or meditation style track and focus less on rhythm and more on layers and what each voice is going to be contributing to the piece. Then on Patreon, I'm going to show you how to seamlessly transfer from whatever we create today into a whole new key and tempo, something that I think is relatively common in that style of music. Let's do it. So before I record anything on the synth, really quickly, I'm just going to create a pattern region, which is what it's called in Logic Pro. It's just a programmed drum track. I've talked about this in the past. It's more just for a metronome for us to play to rather than actually part of the piece. And since it's going to be an ambient piece, I'm going to use just a hi-hat or like a ride cymbal on eighth notes or maybe quarter notes, and I'll just put a lot of reverb on it. And it'll just kind of help us keep the time in this piece. It's not going to really be part of it. Alright, took a little tweaking. Sometimes the Logic drums are not that practical sounding in my opinion. I like to turn the velocity way down so that it's softer sounding. But again, we probably won't even keep the drums in there. So now I'm just going to record two bass notes. I'm just going to have it be C to D minor. We're going to keep it nice and simple. And then from there we'll get into intervals and layering and all of that. So here we go. I'm going to show you three different approaches for this, for layering. So basically we have the C major chord and we have this D minor chord, right? And it's just bass notes at this point. So we have all these different notes that work over those chords. And we can either have those notes really close together or we can have them spaced apart. And so I'm going to show you basically the closest they can be together, like as in a cluster where it's just a bunch of notes right in a row, which has a very specific sound. Then I'm going to show you where they're kind of built just straight up like, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, kind of like we talked about in the chord voicing lesson for piano. And then lastly, I'm going to build it in fourths, which is a really nice sound also. So it really just depends what you're going for, and you'll hear what all those different ones sound like. Now for each one of these, I'm actually going to pick a different voice. So basically I'm going to play the third of C major, I'm going to play that in E, and then I'm going to switch the voice on my synth here so you can hear between each note that I'm playing, it's all going to have its own unique sound, so hopefully that'll make it easier to differentiate each note. And I'm going to show you every step of the process, and you can decide how that sounds for yourself. But first, let me just show you on the keyboard here what I have in mind for these different voicings. So for a C major chord, we have a select couple notes that are going to sound good over this chord. We have the chord tones, and then we have the extensions, which we've talked about in previous lessons. So we have an E, which is the third, G is the fifth, we got B is the seventh, D is the 9, then we'll have our sharp 11, which is F sharp, and A, which is the 13. So for the first approach here, the clusters, I'm just going to play those as close together as would be possible, which means this E, this F sharp, this G, this A, this B, this D. So all the notes that we have at our disposal played in the closest format possible. And again, you'll get to hear how that sounds. Now, for a D minor chord, the notes that we have, the chord tones, we got F as our third, A is the fifth, C is the seventh. Now we have our extensions. The 9 is E, then we're going to have G, the 11, and lastly B, which will be the 13. And so to play those as close together as possible, we have F, we have G, A, C, B, and E. So they're going to be real close together, and you're going to get to hear that sounds. And then for the next approach where we're going to build it straight up, basically, and I'll go into it more, but that's where we're going to play them like this, spaced apart, sort of how we learned. So let's try that out. I'm going to try my best to record these all in at real time, and then I'll go back and edit it so you can hear each layer being added as it goes. So let's do it. Starting with an E, this is the third of C major. Then F, the third of D minor. Alright, let's go to our next note. note. This is going to be an F sharp for C major, the next note up that's available to us. Then G, the 11, for D minor. Okay, next one. Now we have G for our C major chord, the 5th. A, the 5th of D minor. Alright, let's go to our next one. So this will be A, the 13 in C major. Then B, 13 in D minor. Where are the mushrooms? That was putting me up in outer space there. And of course, you know, you don't have to play every single note like that clustered at the same time. It might be more useful to just play 3 notes clustered together or something like that. But you can hear how that sound is very dense, very close together. So next we're going to build these chords just like we're harmonizing up the scale. So we got E, G, B, D, F sharp, A. Then for our D minor we got F, A, C, E, G, B. I'm going to use the same voices from that last one, and we're going to see how this one sounds. So we already know what the bass and third sound like from the first example, so I just copy and paste that one. But next we're going to play a G over the C major, the 5th. We're building them up this time, leaving a little more space. Minor, that's an A. Okay, now we're going to have our 7th. That's B for C major. C for D minor. Sharp 11, F sharp and C major, natural 11, G over D minor. Okay, last one. This is an A, it's the 13 of C major, and B, 13 of D minor. So you can kind of almost hear those notes breathing a little more, right? The first one was really close, and while eventually when you just start adding that many notes together, it just starts to sound like this big kind of like swell of sound, which is kind of what we're going for here. It's a beautiful sound, but that one that we just did was a little bit more spaced out than the first one. So now we are going to have our most spaced out option. And I don't mean spaced out, I mean the notes are the most spaced out. So we are going to build this in fourths, which I think a lot of arrangers and composers would argue is the most favorable sound, at least for like the top voice. If you're arranging vocals or horns, a fourth is a very strong sound. So it's going to be a little bit different, but let me show you on the keyboard here what it's going to look like. Okay, so we're going to start on our E again, the third, but we're going to go up a fourth to A, up another fourth will bring us to D, the 9, then we got the fifth, which is G, and then another fourth will bring us to C, which is the root. And I'm actually going to change that to a B, and that's sort of where it ends because another fourth would be F, which we don't really want over a major chord, the 4, the natural 4. So we're going to skip the F sharp. We're just going to have the 3rd, 13, 9, 5th, 7. Now for D minor, we're going to build it slightly differently also, so we can get as many notes as possible all in fourths. We're going to start on G, the 11. We're going to go to C, the 7, then F, the 3rd, all building in fourths, of course. Then we're going to go to, this isn't a perfect fourth, it's going to the tritone, so this is going to be B, the 13. Then from there, E, the 9, and we'll end it with A. So that one's going to be one extra note than the C chord because of the way that it builds. So let's hear how that sounds. So I copied and pasted the 3rd in there again because we already know what that sounds like. But we are going to build up in fourths this time. I also played to the drum track for a metronome, but I'm going to take that out after so y'all can hear what this sounds like without the drums. So now we're going to play an A. It's a fourth up from E, the 3rd of C major. We're actually going down to G this time. The G is not a fourth up from F, the 3rd of D minor. But the way that we're going to build this, that's the note that's going to make most sense to start on for our purposes. Okay. Going up to D, the 9 of C major, and up a fourth from A. Now C, the 7th of D minor. Alright, up another fourth, we're going to go to G. 5th, down to F, at the 3rd in there again. Now remember, we're going to go up to the B now instead of the root, which would be C. So that's actually just up a 3rd, a little bit different than what we've been doing so far. Down to A. Go up to that F sharp after all. That way we can hear what the 9, the E sounds like over the D minor chord. Get that last note in there. Little eerie sound. Alright y'all, thank you for joining me. I know that might have been a lot to listen to all those washy droning sounds over and over, but try it for yourself, of course. And the beauty of this, just like everything else, you know what I'm going to say, is you can mix and match. You can start on different notes and build up from there. You can try all different kinds of stuff. You can put it over octaves, and there's just a million different possibilities there. So make sure you do that, and make sure you check out my deep dive on the Patreon, which we are going to figure out how to seamlessly transfer from what we just made into a new key and tempo. And we're going to look at a bunch of different ways, some dominant chords, and then also some ways that don't involve a chord to transfer. We're just going to have one note hang over and then play a new chord. So that might sound confusing, but we're basically going to dive more into theory. And ultimately my goal was to initially make 10 videos for these lessons and just kind of see how they were received. And this is the 10th one. It's been a lot of work, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed them. If it seems like people are digging it and I got some Patreon subscribers, then I'm definitely going to keep going. Otherwise, I might just have to reassess how much time I'm spending on this, even though it is very fun. So thanks, y'all.